This video is a comparison of my First Blood knives and sheaths. One of my early videos that I did with all my First Blood knives, I think there was about seven or eight, I can't remember. I only had one, maybe two of these, I think one of these at the time. The rest I have sold and obviously bought a couple others to replace them. So I haven't got as many, but in my opinion I've improved the quality and the accuracy. Just depends what you want out of the knife that you buy and sheath. So there might be a few little factors that I don't touch on today. I might have already spoken about certain things in the past that I talk about. I've done other videos on these knives and sheaths, but some of you love the First Blood knife as much as me, and if you're curious about who the top makers are, the tribute makers, and just little details, might help clear up some things to make it easier for you to choose. Or you might not want a high-end First Blood tribute knife and just curious about different factors. Anyway, so we'll start off with the sheaths. There are four makers in front of me. With the knives, there's 3 makers. So 2 of the knives were done by Daniele Mauro from Italy. And the sheaths, first one here is by Andy Wood. The next one is Michael Perry. This one, Francesco Nova. And this one, Steve Viau. So each one of them are extremely high quality and very accurate. Each one has little things about them that might be better than the other, but they all have their strengths. So the oldest sheath here is the one by Steve. This one is for my Steve Viau 8 of 12. So this is the rarest of all the sheaths, and I don't think you can get higher quality. It's just beautiful. The leather is used, the colouring, the stitching, just the whole finish is stunning. The stamps, just everything looks great on it. Absolutely top notch. So the one factor about this one compared to a couple of the others is accuracy. So the colour for these 3 are a little bit more accurate to the number 1 and number 2 First Blood or Lile First Blood knives. I think the number 5 was a bit darker, so this one might be closer in colour to the number 5. By memory, I think it's probably somewhere in between, to be honest. the other thing with accuracy, in the movie they had retention wedges. This one hasn't got that. And there's different positives and negatives about having wedges, but if you're talking about accuracy, wedges do help with the accuracy. And moving along, the other thing is the little groove there. That wasn't in the movie knives. And the edges of the movie sheaths are pretty much the same colour as the sheaths, maybe slightly darker. I can't remember. To me, that's not a big factor. Now we move to the Italian master, Francesco Nova. So he's darkened the edges, which I think, if I wasn't going for accuracy, I think it looks great. I actually prefer it, but if we're going for accuracy, you don't want it too dark. The quality is just, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. With all these sheaths, you can't beat them. The other high-end First Blood knives on the market these days, you've got the Viau that works with the next generation Liles. I haven't had one of his knives or sheaths, so I can't comment too much. I'm sure the sheaths are up there. I haven't had one, so again, I can't really comment. I know that these knife makers are more accurate than the next generation Liles, and I don't think that's at all because that nearly can't do accurate. I'm sure he could make it very accurate. I think it's just something that was decided with the Lile company to not make them perfectly accurate, which is fair enough. So it's great to have different options. Price wise, nearly is one of the more expensive, the top end knives, because of the Lile stamp. Anyway, that's a whole different different topic to what I want to get into. So moving along with these ones, so the Nova sheaths, if you're into collecting Rambo knives, you know all about Nova and Steve Viau. And next one, Michael Perry from the UK. This is a new sheath, fairly new. It was made this year. Super accurate, and it has the retention wedges. Actually, I forgot to show you retention wedges for the Nova sheath. This was my first sheath with the wedges. I do have another Michael Perry sheath, but I don't have a knife in it, so it's not in this video. These are just the sheaths that have knives with them. So the Michael Perry sheath has a perfect colour for the number 1 and number 2 Lile knives. Everything about it is very, very accurate. When it comes to the width of the movie sheaths, I don't know the measurements, so I can't say which one of these is more accurate unless we just go by the look. Same with the sharpening stone pouch. With the sheaths, each one of them has a genuine Arkansas sharpening stone, just like the Lile knives. have the Andy Wood sheath. Again, another one with the perfect colour. Everything about it's accurate, but it does not have the wedges. I didn't want all my knives to have the wedges. It's cool to have two with and two without. Same with the knives that Stallone used, because he's left-handed. His sheaths were left-handed. It's good to have a mixture of left and right sheaths. The Andy Wood sheath, I haven't got the leg strap and leg cord, but it will be arriving in the near future. He just didn't have it at the time that he sent the sheath to me. Speaking of Andy, I will be doing an interview on my channel with Andy in the near future, early 2025, which will be cool. Look forward to that. Each one of these knives and sheaths have the knife pouches. So the Viau and the two Daniele Mauro knives came with those pouches. This one I had to buy separately and have embroidered. Alright, moving to the knives. I recently got the dog tags. Every Rambo collector must have the dog tags apparently, so I had to get some. They're very cheap, get them on eBay. There's a few different options. I went for the cheapest. So now I've got the dog tags from the first movie and the necklace with the little Buddha from Rambo 2 and 3. So I'll show that with my Rambo 2 knives when I do my next Rambo 2 knife comparison, which will be in a month to 2 months. Just waiting on another knife. So starting with, same as the sheaths, Steve Viau. So this knife, the biggest difference that you'll notice is the polish clip, different masking. So if you follow, or if you know a bit about the original movie knives, Jimmy Lyle made 13 knives and sent 6 to Stallone. They were all numbered from 1 to 13. The first 6 numbered knives were sent to Stallone, and they all had the masking like these 3. And the other 6 that were for collectors had the polish clip, which I prefer the look of, but I like movie accurate knives, so I don't have all of them with that look. Now this one is very, very accurate tribute to the number 7 through to number 13 Lyle knives. I've never seen a more accurate tribute to those knives. Very hard to fault it. So I had a leather cord with this one, a wrist cord, and it started to discolour the handguard, so I'm going to clean that up in the next couple of days, get it back to like new. So as you can see, it's got the stamp 8 of 12 Viau. That's the steel type. This thing is just gorgeous. When you hold it, it just feels like a real Lyle. It is super, super top quality. It's the only maker that I know of that does 2 pins through the blade. Lyle used to do 1, and I believe Daniele Mauro and Andy Wood do like Lyle and have 1. So in that sense, it's less accurate underneath, but probably a little bit more durable. But all these knives, you could take them out and give them a beating if you were that way inclined. I would never do that with a high-end knife. I'm certainly not rich, and I treasure these knives, so I just don't think it's necessary to test them when other people have. There's videos of people using Daniele Mauro knives, and even the Viau. I've seen a Viau Rambo 2 knife be tested to an extent, but I've seen Daniele Mauro First Blood knives be used for chopping, batoning, cutting with the saw teeth, thrown in water, all sorts of stuff. I don't see why anyone would use it more brutally than that, but they didn't lose the edge, they didn't even scratch, they didn't loosen up. Most importantly, the blades, the guards, handle, all of it stayed 100% tight, intact. So that's one thing you can be guaranteed with a Daniele Mauro knife, is that you can use them if that's what you want. I think it's nice to own knives that can be used and not necessarily use them all. So anyway, Steve has 2 pins. The cord is spot on. When I use my flash for my videos, it makes the colour a little bit brighter and not quite as nice as it really is in person, especially this one. The cord is just slightly off when it's got the flash, but in person this one looks almost identical to the others. It's just different lighting. So Steve's knife is spot on, perfect tribute to the 7 through to 13 First Blood knives. Moving on to the Daniele Mauro 1 of 13 tribute. I was very lucky to get this as a gift from Kyle Thomas. So Kyle helped Daniel with designing the numbered knives, because Kyle owns the 1 of 13 Lile movie knives used in the movie, screen used. It's the Grail knife, #1 knife on the planet as far as I'm concerned. Out of all the movie knives, of course my favourite is First Blood, and after that you've got the Mission knife, the Crane LS1, and then you've got the Hibbins and the Pole Forces. They're all very, very close behind the #1 First Blood knife that started it all and inspired a lot of people, a lot of makers and collectors. So the #1 of 13 Lile has a metal plate welded onto it. This has a magnet to represent that plate, which is pretty cool. Underneath it's got nothing on this one, but this next one has the same plate, magnet, but there's stamps under it because this one is the 1 of 13 Raven. So Daniel made this one as a gift to Kyle for helping design them, and they both were happy for me to own this. It was a decision that the 3 of us discussed for different reasons, or one reason in particular. I don't want to get into that because I have previously a few times. So it was a gift, and it was after I'd already ordered the Raven, so this was like a prototype. That's why there's more than one of 13. So 12 other collectors have one of 13 tribute knives, but they've all got different numbers out of 13. I have the 2 that are both 1 of 13, but they're all tributes to the 1 of 13 knife. But all the others are stamped 2 through to 13 of 13, and they all have different names from the Baker team. Mine is the John Rambo Raven, which I'm super lucky to have and very grateful. This one is slightly more accurate than the others because it was made after this one and the other 12. So because it was made afterwards, we could get it a little bit more accurate. It's slightly thinner, closer to the movie knife thickness. The cord is a bit more accurate, and the masking, if you have a look, if you compare these two, the masking is just a little bit closer to the teeth. Just slightly. Now each one of these 4 First Blood knives have movie accurate Lile brass compasses, the original compasses, which are very rare now. And moving on to the last one by Andy Wood. It's my second Andy Wood First Blood. The other one was stamped number 5. And my good friend Mark Tetcher, who has an awesome YouTube channel by the same name, he has my First Blood Andy Wood number 5. But this one has the First Blood stamp like the movie knives, and it's accurate to the number 2 of 13. I believe the 5 wood that I gave Mark was more accurate to the number 1 of 13 by memory. I can't remember exactly, but I think so. So the difference to the number 2 and the 1, main difference is the clip grind. So the number 2 Lile had, see how that grind is in the middle of the teeth? On the number 1 knife, it's along in line with the tooth. So it's all about preference. Can come down to which look you prefer or which knife you want a tribute to be made, tribute of the accuracy. So Andy's is the most, this would have to be the most accurate knife of the number 2 of 13. And this one, I believe, would be the most accurate knife made as a tribute to the 1 of 13. Now I started with the cheap Chinese knockoffs, like a lot of other people, and then moved on to the little bit higher up Hollywood collectibles. I didn't have the United Cutlery First Blood or Mission Knife, only the Hollywood collectibles, which I've since sold to help pay for knives like this, or these knives in particular. So the other knife maker that I was going to mention that I forgot was Marcos Blineri. So I've had 2 First Blood knives by him, one with the polished clip and one without, like this one, like these 3. And his knives are made to be used. You can get them full tang or hollow handle. the movie knives were hollow handle, but some people prefer full tang. When they're this quality, I think hollow handle is better because it's more accurate. And these knives, you won't break them, you won't loosen them up unless you do absolutely stupid things and abuse the hell out of the knife, which is not realistic use, in my opinion, once again. So the other two knife makers that are active now, Viau and Marcos Blineri, two other makers that you might want to have a look at if you're weighing up your options. Marcos is a great guy. I've talked with him a few times. Very nice guy. And the knives I had were not hollow handled. That's why I moved them on. They're still very beautiful, but I couldn't afford to keep them and buy the higher end ones. But his knives, in my opinion, are high end and definitely usable. Beautiful, sharp knives. So a lot of people have asked over the last few years about price. The Viau is the most expensive out there, up there with the Viau, possibly more expensive, I think, because of the rarity, and it's the highest of quality, as high as anyone else, but they're accurate and very rare. So when something's rare, the price goes up. The price of Daniele Mauro knives and Andy Wood knives are very similar. So the difference between them is all of them are handmade to an extent. But the Viau and Daniele Mauro knives are 90% handmade. That's not an accurate description. I'm not sure of the exact percentage. It might be 70, but they are definitely handmade knives. The Andy Wood is handmade to an extent, but I think there is some CNC or some sort of machining. That's why his knives are so perfect with accuracy and beautiful finish. When you make them almost 100% handmade, you're going to have little differences from knife to knife, as Lile did. All his 13 First Blood knives, in particular the first 6 movie knives, had little differences. In particular the clip grinds, and the masking was slightly different on some of them. There's even some differences in masking on one knife in particular. There might have been on a few, but if you looked at one side of a knife compared to the other on at least one of the first 6, I can't remember, but the masking was closer to the teeth on one side than the other. I can't remember off the top of my head which one I'm referring to, but it was one of the movie knives. They might all be like that slightly, but one in particular was very noticeable. There's difference in the length of where the masking tapers off. Number 2 was a little bit longer than the number 1, and the 7 through to 13 was shorter again. So pretty much they're all, you have to be pretty fussy to prefer one from another. So that's when you're getting high end and fussy collecting. When I first started collecting the Rambo knives, I was happy to just have a $50 cheap Chinese knockoff, because it was something I wanted since I was a kid. Could never get one, never afford one. I will be doing a video soon of all my 80s survival knives, just to have a look and a bit of a nostalgia for collectors. So anyway, you know, if you're happy to spend a little bit more money, save up, they're all worth it, including the two that I don't have anymore, the Blaneries and also the Vaughan Neely. All beautiful high-end knives. These are just my preferred ones that I've been able to get in my situation. And it hasn't just been about affordability. There's been a lot of kindness and friendship that have helped me get these knives. So I'm very appreciative and will cherish them. Will I ever sell any of them? Maybe one or two, I don't know. At this stage, I'm happy to keep them. I'd like to keep them forever if I can, but sometimes our situations change. I've sold a few high-end knives already, so I'm happy to keep these ones for now. And another look at the sheaths and the knife pouches, soft bags. So if there's something that I haven't mentioned, that if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. There might be something I'm forgetting in the details, but I hope it was helpful or entertaining, not a complete waste of time. It's been a little bit over half an hour, and again, I hope everyone's had a good Christmas, and I wish you all a good new year. Let's hope 2025 is a better year, whether it's financially or all the other stuff. Politically, there's been a lot of stuff going on, and all the stuff with COVID and everything over the last few years. Let's hope it's all behind us and we can enjoy life a little bit more and own more knives. Long live Rambo.